What's up, and welcome to the Replayer Podcast. I'm your host, Dan, this week, and I'm wearing a hat. And joining me is Pagan.
Hi, I'm Pagan, and I'm wearing a hoodie.
Woo!
Yes, you're welcome, audio listeners, for the visual.
for the
visual aid.
For the audio listeners, it was looking at Pagan while I'm talking to you guys. Anyways, welcome to the Replayer Podcast. My name is Dan. This is my co-host, Pagan, the lovely Pagan. And I'm also wearing a PlayStation shirt and an Xbox hat because that's how I roll. Deal with it.
Because both consoles are amazing.
All consoles are amazing. All games.
All consoles are amazing.
Are great. I love games. I don't care where I'm playing it. Games are awesome. Joining us this week, we have a friend of the show and fellow replayer, Charlotte, a.k.a. Snapefantasy. Welcome to the show, Charlotte.
Hey. Yeah, insert applause here.
Yeah. And I'm rocking the wonderful Team Nolan shirt.
Team Nolan shirt.
Damn right, you're rocking the Team Nolan shirt. I love that shirt.
It's a
good shirt.
It is a great shirt, and it's a great, not official shirt.
Yeah, right. It's a great fan-made shirt. And shout out to Candace and Aaron for getting that shit made and over to us all. That was very sweet of you guys. Thank you so much.
Woo.
Yes.
All right, so we are back here on the Replayer Podcast trying to remember how to podcast. And for this, we're doing what I have made up right now on the spot called the Replayer Highlight, where we got Charlotte on. We're going to talk to Charlotte, get to know her a little bit better. And we're going to kind of kick it off how we used to do it. We're going to ask some basic questions, get to know Charlotte a little better, especially for those who may not have heard the previous episode you've been on, Charlotte. And I'm going to kick it right off with the basic of all base questions. Do you like soup?
I love soup.
What's your favorite soup?
I like chili.
Is chili a soup?
Chili is a soup? Wait.
Drew needs to weigh in on
this. For me,
this.
it's a soup.
We had to wait a minute.
I make mine
How
with
is that
venison.
a soup?
I don't think of chili as a soup.
You make your chili with venison?
Yeah.
I'm coming to your fucking house, man. That sounds delicious.
Don't get me wrong. I love soup or chili. Chili's amazing.
I'm gonna Google it. Is chili a soup?
Because most people,
it's actually filled. Is chili a soup or stew?
It's very.
So it seems like this is a very popular question.
In my neck of the woods, it's also a spaghetti topping.
It's a topping for
I'm
everything, in my opinion. So
yeah, just top it on anything. Fuck it, nachos, noodles, whatever it is. Just give it to me.
Oh my god, chili is the perfect nacho topping.
Right.
All right. So what's the Google say?
Google says chili doesn't usually have broth or stock, and therefore is not a soup.
Aha!
Rude.
There you go. Apparently, you have to have broth or stock in it to be classified as a soup.
Because you have soups, you've got stews, and you've got chilies.
True.
Like they're different, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go with pho.
Pho. Okay.
I love pho.
Yeah.
Any particular kind or style?
Chicken. I like chicken pho.
Fair enough. Good stuff.
I've never had.
Have you ever had that?
Before.
Oh, it's so good.
No.
Oh, it's a really nice noodle type soup. It's Vietnamese.
Mm-hmm.
So delicious.
Yeah, I've seen it I must have seen it on something because I watch a lot of. Essentially, I watch a lot of food YouTube channels, and especially if they're traveling through Asia or anything like that. I just love that kind of stuff. Like Mikey Chen, I love your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's like chicken noodle soup, just dialed up.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
and you can get
like
custom ordered. Oh my god,
so
custom
good.
ordered. I've always called it faux, faux noodles.
Pho.
Either way.
I don't know about this kind of soup and stuff like that. So I have an issue with essentially where there's a genetic thing that I can't digest onions.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have onions, they would just make my stomach cramp, and then I would just not have a good time.
You and Brandy have that in common.
Yeah, it's hard. Adam has it as well. So it's great in our household. We just get everything.
I love onions so much. I would die if I couldn't eat onions. No.
Right, but it's in everything. It's in everything and anywhere you go. And it's I wish this was more common allergy or intolerance, because it's really hard to ask for something without it, because they'll just be like, no, that's not possible. Or they're like, yeah, sure, we'll give it to you without it. And then there definitely is. So I would like to try the pho, except without onions, please, if that's possible.
It's easy to get it without onions. Yeah, because if you ever go to
a
faux restaurant, it's a lot of times they're like, okay, what kind of broth do you want? What kind of noodles do you want? What do you want in the soup? Like, you can pick and choose.
Oh, you can customize.
Yeah, it's highly customized.
It's like a Subway kind of table full of ingredients that you can have.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, it's
great.
All right,
sign me up. I'm happy with this. That was a great answer. Great answer, Charlotte.
Way to
Never heard
bounce
that
back
before.
from the chili debacle.
Hey, listen, chili's her favorite stew.
Chili is
So,
fantastic, so I can't
It's
question that.
apparently a stew. Qualifies as.
I would say it
So,
qualifies
there
as
you
a
go.
stew.
There you go.
But yeah, I thought a soup question would be fun for all of our soup fans out there. I myself
Do you
am a
like
big soup fan.
Do you like soup? Yeah.
I love soup. It's one of my favorite foods.
Oh.
You're like,
No, I don't
Aw.
like soup. The only soup that I would ever eat really is like a tomato or like a tomato and red pepper soup.
We've had this discussion.
We've definitely had this discussion. I'm
For
not a
sure.
big soup person.
Tomato and basil.
Yeah, which is gonna be interesting, like at like at my wedding and stuff, because usually they'll have soup as a course, and I was like, yeah, I guess like vegetable soup seems to be the standard course everywhere, and I was like, can I just have
Mm.
like tomato? But nobody likes tomato, so it's probably just gonna be me. And they're so nice at the hotel. They're like, yeah, the bride
Sure.
and groom can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like you can have steak. You can give your like all of your guests chicken nuggets. Like whatever you guys
Please
want,
do
you can
that.
get. And I was like, fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I like tomato soup, but I have to make it myself. I can't have it out of a can because there's too much sugar.
Homemade tomato soup is so
Oh.
good too, though.
I've never made homemade tomato soup.
Mm.
It's
I'd like
really
to,
easy to do in a pressure cooker. Super easy.
I don't think I have a pressure cooker. I just have a slow cooker. Yeah, slow
Mm.
cooker. Can I do it in that?
One of my favorite
Okay.
recipes for tomato soup has a base of
Oh, yeah.
onions and bacon sauteed at the beginning.
Yeah, just minus the onions. It's just
Yeah.
the bacon base sounds great. I'm
Mhm.
all with that. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
All
cool.
right. Well, I thought the soup question would be fun. So, kind of more traditional questions, the ones you've probably answered before, Charlotte. But kind of just going right into the gaming. As far as like, tell us about your gaming background. Like, what got you into gaming?
The first video game that I owned was Wolfenstein on the
Oof.
Commodore 64.
Actual Wolfenstein,
wow.
not like
Actual Wolfenstein. Yeah. So like we're talking like 1986-ish. Second grade me. And then I had friends that had Nintendos and Ataris and stuff, but I had to go to other places to play those. And then so I eventually upgraded to a 286
Mm.
and then to a 386. So lots of Sierra games, lots of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, lots of Oregon Trail, lots
Oh
of
my God,
Police Quest, King's Quest.
Amazing.
This is all hair dye. It's
Oh.
nothing but gray.
Listen, I know exactly what you're talking about. That was definitely like the earliest years of my gaming childhood and whatnot, playing those old games, especially like at school. We used to have like the old computers and you would play Oregon Trail. This is your computer time back then when we were kids,
Yeah.
was playing Oregon Trail.
Trying to keep your people from dying of dysentery.
Mhm. Quite
Great
literally.
time.
It's a good time.
It was a good time. It's a fun game. But then I went from that to Doom.
Natural progression.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what was that? 93, 95, somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
Did you
I had
play
all the
Doom
cheat
through
codes.
a shareware originally?
I did.
Yes, because that's how they got it out there. That's how they got Doom into people's hands, were through those shareware discs and drives and things where
Cool.
they were like, here's the first like part of Doom on this random thing that you could play. And it was people ate it up. It was basically just free demos of Doom. And that's how people got into Doom in the beginning. And
Nice.
Yeah.
That's-
It's like that first hit of crack that you just got handed for free. And you're like, where's the game? Gotta
Yeah.
have it.
I only just learned recently that the original version of the shareware for Doom, when they did that, they were distributing out this free version of the game. And in order to actually buy the game, there was like a 1-800 number you'd have to call and say, I want this game. Here's my credit card information. And then they send it to you. And I just thought that was such an odd thing to have to do. Like, I want this game. I'm going to call a 1-800 number.
I feel like they mentioned this on the show before.
They might have.
Yeah, I think like it was way back when. I don't know what game they were talking about, but I think Troy and Nolan had this conversation where like at the end of the game or at the beginning of the game said like call this number, and he's like, "Oh my god, do you remember having to do that?" Nolan's
Mm.
of course like,
I
"No."
remember that.
What are
No.
you talking about? But yeah, I think they mentioned that briefly on the show before.
Yeah. And then it was like, when you got it, it was like on, I want to say it was like on 4.
Yeah, something like that.
3x5s,
3 or 4 floppy
3.5s.
disks.
Yeah. It was
Good old
Floppy
floppy
disks.
disks.
Yeah.
Oh,
not the
oh
floppy
my
floppy
God.
ones, but the little hard ones.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's nostalgia, man. I want a floppy disk framed.
I
I
used
just
to have
remember
that.
having floppy disks and like everything. Like my schoolwork used to be on floppy disk, and then like it just it's cool.
Right.
That-
and look
that
where
is
we've gone. Like my laptop doesn't even have a disk drive. It's
yeah, they're just
my computer
gone.
doesn't have a disk drive. No, we have a portable disk drive if we need one, but we've never used it.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I bought a disc-based version of anything for my computer.
Yeah, for my computer, nothing. Like games, definitely we prefer to have like the memorabilia stuff in the cases and shit. But no, for my computer, I don't think anything's coming like USBs.
Yeah,
That's pretty
true.
much it. Yeah.
Well, the next question I have here is preferred platform, but I want to open that up. I'd rather know what platforms you have, like in general.
Oh, good question.
yeah.
Are you grabbing a Switch?
I am. No, I'm grabbing PS4.
Yes, I has that.
Switch.
I has that as well.
We also have an Xbox, but that's in Troy's room, and PC.
So for audio listeners, she is physically holding up the things that she's talking about. So you have a Switch, you have a PlayStation 4, you have an Xbox. You're pretty well rounded, like myself.
Yeah, we play on it
I'm
because we're a
also
gaming
well-rounded.
family.
I
I just don't play the Xbox ish. I have played it. It is good. Game Pass is excellent.
I
just
know
don't
you've gotten
find
into Gears
myself
of
playing
War.
it.
You've been enjoying Gears of War with Adam.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I actually really want to work our way all the way up to 5.
That's
Like, I
what I'm
really
actually
want
doing the
to.
same thing with Brandy right now too. We're making our way through the Gears of War franchise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really cool.
I like that Origin is partnered in there with Xbox.
Oh,
So that
really?
you can, yeah,
Are you talking about EA Play?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they
Origin,
recently
EA.
they
For me,
rolled
they're
in.
the same people.
Well, Origin is EA's platform, and then they've rebranded
Yes.
it more as EA Play now. So they've rolled EA Play into Game Pass. So if you have an Xbox Game Pass membership, you also get EA Play with it.
Cool. Yeah, the only reason I have Origin is The Sims on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been dealing with Origin for quite some time. They're the original producers of Ultima Online.
Oh yes, yeah.
So they used to be under OSI back then. So I've been dealing with them since the late 90s. So.
Ooh, long time.
Yeah.
All right.
When I was but a girl.
But the girl.
But a girl.
My favorite question, and always the toughest question: do you have a favorite game?
I don't know game series.
Yeah.
Yes, Uncharted.
Yay!
This whole
Definitely
series,
the
yeah.
Uncharted series. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go
I don't know
wrong
what
there.
you're talking about. I've never seen that game before.
No, we have no clue who's in that.
I don't know who you're talking about.
The little
Yeah.
indie game Uncharted that
Yeah. Voice
No
acting
one's-
It's tiny.
terrible. I just
Right. It's got horrible music. It's
just
just
horrible. I'm pretty sure they never even sold like 10 copies. Ugh.
no.
Ugh.
There's no BAFTAs involved there. Mm-mm.
It's the greatest fucking game series of all time. It is so fucking good, man. I'm sorry. It is. It's just so good. That's a hard statement. I'm gonna retract that statement. I'm sure it's not the greatest game
it's
series
a
of all time.
hard statement,
in
but it's
my
one that
opinion.
it's hard to argue though too.
Yeah, in my opinion,
It's
for
very
me
well
personally,
written.
it's my favorite game series of
Yeah.
all time.
It's well written. The artwork is fantastic. It's been pushing boundaries since the first game, as far as the technology. It's just good. It's solid. It stands up.
It's a
For sure.
solid game for sure.
Just solid.
It's
All right.
solid.
Well, going a little outside of that now, the next question that I have for you, Charlotte, is, before the show, you kind of let me know a little bit about your background, that you have an education in broadcasting and that you've actually done some radio. And I'm really curious to know a little bit more about that. And I'd love for you to go in and a little bit of a deep dive and explain that.
Yeah, sure. So when I went through my divorce, I decided I needed a career. So
and when was that? Like how long ago?
So that was this would have been 2001. So it was right. I started class right after 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I had already moved over towards Cincinnati. I had already signed up for school. 9/11 happened. We started school that next week. So I'm like, well, I just broadcasting has always been something I've been interested in. People have always told me I have a voice for it. So, I mean, why not? I obviously like to talk, so.
Obviously.
Well, don't we all? You're with friends here, Charlotte.
I mean,
so do we.
There's a reason why I'm curious about your broadcasting background. So
Right.
Yeah, so I joined the Ohio School for Broadcasting in 2001. It's a 10-month program. And I wound up having to teach part of the class because none of the teachers knew how to load a reel-to-reel deck, which I thought was bizarre, but still. And then in broadcasting school, you have to do an internship. And I chose to do my internship at the oldie station in Cincinnati because my parents, when I was a child, I wasn't allowed listening to mainstream regular music.
Okay.
I could only listen to classical, gospel, and oldies. So I developed kind of a taste for older music. And so I went and applied at WGRR, which is the oldies channel in Cincinnati, got the internship after I had to explain why I was there. Because at the time I was like 22.
Oh.
They're like, why are you
Fair.
wanting to work at the oldies station? You know, Q102, this pop station is down the hallway. Why don't you go talk to them? And I'm like, this is the Kingston Trio that's playing. What are you talking about? This song is called Tom Dooley. This is the Kingston Trio. This is why I'm here. I know this music. Let me work.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so I got that position. I got to work with some wonderful DJs, one of which is in the Rock and Jock Hall of Fame. His name is Jim LaBarbera. Very cool guy. I got to edit his old interviews. He had just cases of reel-to-reel tapes that were disintegrating, and he wanted them cut down onto CD. And I was the only intern that knew how to work a reel-to-reel deck.
Amazing.
So I got to, listen to interviews with people like Peggy Lee. I'm just like, who gets to hear this? Where have I been? This is awesome. But so I worked there until I was done with school. And then I kind of dropped radio for a while. And eventually it was just like, I need a part-time job. The radio station in town was hiring. So I applied, and so I worked at a country station here in Batesville for about 3 years. I was the afternoon drive.
No way. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So you were actually like the DJ that people listen to on their afternoon drive from work.
I was.
Amazing.
Country 103.9 WRBI.
Mm.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you kind of like, I mean, obviously you'd said that you've always wanted to do that, and that was it. Like that was you doing it. How did you feel?
I loved it. I honestly, if radio was a way to actually make enough money to pay bills, that is what I would do. Period.
It's not?
No. Unless you're in a large market. Yeah. Unless you're in a large market, it doesn't really pay. Like I was making less than McDonald's.
Podcasting is a different beast now. Yeah. So outside of radio.
You got to think, I live in a small town. It was a small country station. If I'd have been in Cincinnati, I probably could have paid bills. Not a lot of them, but I could.
Right.
So payment really depends on what market you're in. Cincinnati is the largest market close to me. It's number 26 in the country. New York and LA vie for 1. Mm-hmm. Chicago's 2, usually.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Wow. Okay. That's cool. Jesus, I didn't know. I had no idea that it didn't pay. Is that why ultimately you left?
That is, because I was like, I need money. Because at that time I had already had my second child. We had mortgage, car payments,
That's the thing, man. Like, I mean, we were talking about this the other day where I was like, man, somebody asked like, what's the goal? And the goal really is to like do what you like or what you love for a living and get paid for it. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, either the jobs are too seldom or you don't get enough money and you can't pay the bills. And that's why we have to stick out jobs like customer service. And you're like,
oh, for sure. It's that like starving artist
so upsetting
scenario in a nutshell, essentially.
Yeah. It's really, really shit. And I think there should be more done for it. I think like actually at the moment, the government, I don't know if this is in at the moment just yet. Tina can correct me on this.
Tina,
but they were doing like a year artist fee. The only problem is they're like little niche that you have to fill in a whole bunch of forms to be an artist for. Doesn't apply to a lot of other things outside of like physical art forms like sculpting and painting, which kind of sucks for like musicians and actors and voice actors or performers. So it's kind of like that's really shit, but they are starting to do something like that where there's a year grant. You can take a year off work and they will pay you from the government's fee to continue pursuing your passion, but it's just 1 year. So like ultimately it's like, hey, you have a year to like make yourself a good income off of this job. And you're like, that's just not achievable ever. So yeah, but hopefully we'll get there someday where there are better art schemes.
Yeah. I mean, I miss it for sure.
Yeah.
It was just something that was so much fun. I got to work with some really just interesting people, because people in radio are interesting on a whole nother level.
Interesting or interesting?
It's yeah. Like,
Both.
some of the people that I met in radio, I think Nolan would walk into a room and go, "You okay?"
No way, really.
Yeah. There- yeah, there's
That's mental.
yeah. Some of the stories I heard, there are things I really can't repeat.
Oh my
that
god.
Jim would tell me about parties he had had with like Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and all these other people, and I'm just like, I hate you, but I love
Okay.
you. Tell me more.
I actually find like there's a lot of those kind of stories that not that they're like on that level or anything like that, but in the membership Zooms with Altered Beast and Drew Soup, for any audio listeners and regular listeners, if you are a member of Retro Replay, and there's like monthly tiers, if you're a member of either Drew Soup tier or Altered Beast, you can get to hang with the crew and the cast once a month in a Zoom, in 2 separate Zooms. And I feel like
Almost
PJ
sounds like you're
always has
paid
those
to
kind
say
of
that,
stories.
Pagan.
I'm
Yeah.
not at all. I'm not
I
at all.
know.
I'm just really a big fan of these
No, they're
Zooms.
great.
Yeah, the Zooms are fantastic.
you
I haven't
really
gotten to
get
go
to
to an
know
Altered Beast
people.
one yet. I've only been to the Drew Soup one.
Oh,
but
dude.
it's
Well,
so
we'll
much
get
fun
you
to
there.
just kind of vibe.
Oh,
everybody.
it's so nice.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think the first couple of Zooms were a little chaotic because everyone's like, oh my gosh, nobody knows each other. Like, hi, how are you? This is this. And like, let's all chat. Whereas I think as you go, everyone just gets a lot more comfortable, including Nolan, including Liam and Todd, including the crew. And you get these really great stories of like industry stories from PJ, or like alien conspiracy theories from PJ.
Oh my god, the alien
Yeah.
conspiracy.
I know. But it's kind of cool, like, to hear that stuff. I think when you work with people in the industry that have been in the industry much longer than you have, you know what I mean, Charlotte? Like,
Yeah.
working with those people, listening to hear those stories, I think that's definitely one of the better parts of the job, because
Oh, yeah.
it's so cool. It's just so great to listen to it.
Yeah, it is fun. It is.
Yeah.
I'm gutted you had to leave.
Yeah, and I had a follow-up question to that too, because I see you have a pretty elaborate mic set up there, and I'm wondering, as far as like, do you have any future goals or
gonna ask the same.
prospects?
I would love to get into things. I actually bought this rig specifically for Breathe.
Mm,
Because they
way.
did not have a good mic.
that's the Troy Baker project,
The
right?
Troy Baker project.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to confirm.
Which I'm
Yeah.
sure there will be more of.
Mhm.
I don't know. He did say that when at the time Breathe came out. I just think it's like a case of like time and money, but I think
Yeah.
there'll definitely be more projects
Yeah.
like that as well.
Yeah. I've signed up on Backstage
Oh,
to try
cool.
to
Okay.
feel
Yes.
out gigs.
Yeah.
I've looked into doing audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That's a pretty
just- I'm-
common place for
I've got
people
some
to start
feelers
off
out.
with.
Yeah, and I've reached out to Natalie Naudis and to Phil Thrawn. They read so Phil did Angie's book, my friend Angie. He did
Yes.
her audiobook, and then he and Natalie did Angie's husband's book together.
Mm.
So they friended me on
Feeling it
Twitter,
out,
and I'm
yeah.
just seeing if they can like get me some leads.
There you go. I mean, that's a good way to kind of like break
Do a
your
little
way in,
networking.
especially if
Mhm.
if
Oh,
they hear your
absolutely.
voice and
Networking's
they're
what
like,
it
you
is.
know what, I think we should give you this a shot, you know, and like networking is usually one of the best ways to do that. So those connections might become invaluable in the near future. So
Yeah, and I've done a few voiceover projects before,
Mhm.
doing training stuff for hospitals.
And you've been branching out with the podcasting a little bit. I know,
Little bit,
obviously, you've been
yeah.
here with
With
us
Steph.
before. You're back on here.
Yes.
You've done Steph's podcast, and I know that you guys had a great show on there. And if you haven't listened to it, go check out the episode of Steph's Gen X Replayer podcast. That you know, how many of her podcast episodes have you been on?
I want to say 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
So
Yay.
I'm on the Unicorn Lunchbox
Yep.
Yes.
podcast with her and Brandy and Shayna.
Yeah, she had mentioned the Unicorn Lunchbox to us last time she was on a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's so cool. I actually didn't know Brandy and Shayna were on there as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, Brandy and I are on the first several, and then the freeze happened
Yeah.
Yes.
in Texas, and she couldn't make it, so we brought Shayna in.
Amazing.
So she's our other Gen Xer. So
Yeah.
it's a fun time. They're super short. They're like 15 minutes a piece.
Yeah.
Little snippets, but they're real fun.
I know you guys kind of got into it about the classic video games and the old school stuff like we were just kind of hitting on. And that actually reminds me, there's a classic game convention coming to Austin, Texas this summer.
Oh, really?
And me and Brandy already bought tickets for it preemptively because I went to one of those last year. Well, not last year, but the year before COVID, because last year doesn't exist at this point. So
Yeah,
I
last
went
year
to a
doesn't
retro game
count.
con before and I loved it. Like, I'm such a big gamer nerd, and to like see that history and to see like there's vendors selling old video games. And I was telling Brandy about it, and she goes, "Do you think they have a ColecoVision?" I was like, "Probably." And she's like, "Let's go."
Yeah, she talked about that in the podcast about her
Yeah.
ColecoVision. That's
I
awesome.
had to Google that console because I had no idea what she was talking about when she came
Yeah.
on the podcast. I was like, "What are you talking about? What is that? Never heard of that before."
Yeah,
Is it
it was
I
a
old?
thing.
genuinely didn't. I'm very sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah, so she's really excited about that now to try and go and get like an old ColecoVision for herself. And I'm like, great. So we can be old school game nerds together. Build up that collection.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any other hopes or prospects going forward as far as broadcasting? I mean, like, podcasting is kind of the way of the future when it comes to audio
Yeah.
broadcasting.
I generally do go back to the station once a year to promote Rocky Horror.
Mm.
So we have a single screen movie theater in my town. And once a year, of course, not last year, because again, it didn't exist.
Exactly.
Once a year, I go into the station every day for a week or so and hype the show. We have a
Nice.
shadow cast that comes out from Cincinnati to do the show in front of the screen. We collect donations. It's a free show. It's the one night in a very small Catholic town that I think some of these kids can really feel safe to be themselves.
Mhm.
So I mean, we usually have a line around the block. So
That's amazing. Rocky Horror is such a great cult classic to bring people together, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
My dad, I
Hmm.
think, introduced me to it, and it was one of my aunts, who sadly passed away. Was one of her favorites as well. And we got to go see it. My dad brought me to a show. He brought me to the live show, I guess, and it was so fucking good, man. It was so good. Go if anybody out there right now is a very big fan of Rocky Horror Picture Show, please, please, please go and see it live if you can. Go and see it live, support the artists, but holy shit, is it so much better. Because like I love Tim Curry and I love the movie, it's fantastic, but just as an experience, live was so amazing. And it's incredible because they really work off the audience.
Mm.
And they play to that. Like a lot of the time people will get heckled or
The energy
things like
is
that. And they
different.
just,
Yeah.
it's so good. And the guy, the guy who played Dr. Frankenfurter is the guy for me who did that at the show was the one of the main guys from Blue, the boy band in the UK.
I've never even heard of them.
Never
a
heard
big
of it
famous
either.
boy band in the UK, and I was like, wait, what? I only
Dan
found
Googles.
out after as well, which is cool. Think of like I don't know, a UK version of like NSYNC.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they
They're
definitely
very
look
big.
like that.
Yeah, they were a very big boy band, like before One Direction and all that shit.
The OG.
They're actually kind of good, but yeah, I had no idea it was him. It was crazy. Duncan James, he was really good. Anyway,
Yeah, it's
Side tangent.
it's different to see, even if
It's different to
even if
see it
you're
live.
even if you're going to see the movie but with a shadow cast, it's
Yeah.
completely different than just watching the movie because
amazing.
the actors are interacting with you.
It's
They
like-
will scream at you to get up and dance.
My
Yeah.
best comparison for that is the Spamalot.
Ooh,
Oh,
Spamalot's
I've never
good.
seen that.
I have not seen it. I want to.
Spamalot is
So
fun.
do I.
I've seen it twice, 2-3 times, and it's always like that. There's a different energy. There's a different vibe, and
Yeah.
the cast usually takes liberties that they make like topical jokes like intertwined
Yes.
into some of the humor, and they'll make shit up on the spot, especially like the icky
Yeah. Actually,
whatever,
Adam
like-
knows that.
yeah.
Adam knows it off by heart. I don't know how he does it. He just knows
But
it.
a lot of times the actors who are doing that bit will change it and make it something
to
random.
something topical. Yeah.
Yeah, just to make a
Yes.
new, different joke every time. And it'll catch you off
Amazing.
guard because you're expecting it to be the normal thing from the
Yeah,
movie.
the normal one.
Yeah, so Spamalot's a good show. It's fun.
Yeah, stage actors are just a different breed. I wish I had pursued that instead of quitting college. That's what I initially went to college for, was musical theater.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because before my voice was this low, I killed my voice with smoking for years. But I was a contralto when I graduated high school.
No way.
Yeah, And I really wanted to do Broadway. And I went to school and said, "Yeah, this isn't for me."
Uh-uh.
And I
The
quit.
dreams.
So yeah,
Broadway is like,
stay in school.
yeah, Broadway is the dream. And like, I know a couple of friends who are still actually working and doing it, and they're just, they're like, I always feel like they're just one step away. Like they're just one show away from like their big break, you know. And she's been in like hundreds of Broadway shows. She does like chorus in background, and I'm like, even if I was in chorus,
Even
that'd be the best fucking time,
Right?
Like, yeah, it's so cool.
I used to love being on stage. Stage is just, I was in drama club all the way through school. I was our secretary and treasurer for our drama club, and did a lot of stage productions, and I miss
It's
it.
just something else, isn't it?
It is. Troy's got a little bit of it. He's not on the stage. He does production. He runs, he's certified with their sound and lighting.
And you're talking about Troy, your son.
Troy, my son.
For our audio listeners who may not be aware.
Your son. No, I actually think I think you're right, like, Charlotte. There's just something else about being on stage. I don't think I've ever been in a musical though, have I? I don't know, I can't remember. But I've just a lot of like dramas and stuff, and I feel like comedies or musical theater, I feel like, is where it's at. It's probably the most fun.
I recently did like improv for the first time in the last couple of years, and it was all new to me, and I had so much fun doing it. And it's like, I think the first day of improv class, the first thing the teacher said is it's impossible to tell somebody about improv outside of improv, because it's the biggest inside joke. And it just proved to be so true, because every time we did a performance, or every time we did an improv, when I tried to go home and tell people how funny it was, they're just kind of like, it doesn't apply. It doesn't
you have
stick.
To be there.
But it was super fun, and it was my only real experience on stage in anything, and I actually loved it. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah. Get into a local group if you've got one around when all this goes away.
I was when I was living in New York, and then I moved to Texas, and that group still, like, I keep in touch with them when I can, but it's still very much a small group in New York, and they were all very saddened that I left. Like, are you sure you're meshing so well with us?
Are you sure you want to leave?
Like, are you sure you're gonna make this massive life decision?
For sure.
You see this woman? Yes, this is
Yes,
done.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Moving on, I wanted to do a quick little timely topics. There's something that I wanted to discuss real quick, and then we'll get on to the show discussion. This, I think, is a hot topic when it comes to our audience. They announced, or at least there's rumors of a remake of The Last of Us Part 1. And I think, that's like,
Wait,
and
what?
There's a remake of The Last of Us Part 1 being made by Sony.
I'm Googling this.
And as of right now, from what I read on this, it was being developed, I believe, by Sony Bend Studios, or at least there's a subdivision of Naughty Dog that was working on it, and they're looking to basically take the first game and put it into the new game's engine. Even though we just had, The Last of Us remastered on PS4, then they did like a PS5 update. You have to actually look this up. You don't believe me?
I didn't see this.
I didn't hear of it either.
It was just today. Like, I just saw it today, and I was like, "Ooh, we should talk about this."
Shit, no, I did not know about this. So essentially, are they going, like, Bloomberg report says Sony support studio pushed off The Last of Us Remake, leading some to quit. Report: The Last of Us Remake coming for PS5, but at a cost to PlayStation morale. It was Polygon.com.
Jason Schreier did the original report to Bloomberg.
What is the purpose of the remake? Just to put the game into PlayStation 5? Or are they going to actually remake the game?
Like I said, from what I was to understand, based on the information I saw, was they're going to rebuild the game in The Last of Us 2's engine and modernize some of the gameplay and controls and mechanics that Last of Us 2 had, but for the first game.
So, I mean, would they just use all the same stuff? Like, nothing would change regarding story, cast, anything. It essentially just sounds like they're going to make like
it's a remake.
remastered
It's a
remaster.
remake.
Yeah, but then but so is fucking Final Fantasy VII, and that was like a completely almost different game. So,
but this isn't like a complete redoing like Final Fantasy, especially because Last of Us is
like
only
that's
7
more
years
like-
old. Final
Yeah, I feel like
Fantasy
that's
is
more like a remaster then.
7 years old, but we already have a remaster though.
it's a
Yeah.
remaster of a remaster.
Exactly.
I see. That's interesting. I mean, at the same time, though, I feel like because you have a remaster of PlayStation 4 and you can still play this on PlayStation 5, is that necessary?
Exactly. That's the
Is that
point
just
that I'm trying to
wasting
make.
time
Like,
and fucking
Yeah,
resources?
you're throwing money
Yeah,
out the window.
if you-
why?
for sure.
the deeper part of the story that I think is worth talking about is the fact that when you look at the article, when you look at the story, they talk about how Sony said no to a Days Gone 2 in light of, let's do a Last of Us remaster when we already have a remaster, and we're sitting here going, why do we need that?
Yeah.
And they said that some of the people at that studio walked away and said, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
and
and it seems the same now.
it's a little disheartening, to think that people are walking away from this role that they had because Sony
Yeah.
was like, we want you to do this.
Yeah, especially when they're also looking at doing a new Uncharted game.
Yeah.
So that's just
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like, I'm all for a new Uncharted game. Give us Uncharted 5. Let's go. But just remastering a remaster, essentially, you're just
Yeah.
kind of like, but there's literally no reason to do that.
The
Like,
bigger
there's no reason. You can still
issue I
play it
have as
on
a
PlayStation
gamer-
4 or PlayStation 5.
Yeah, exactly. You can still play it. You can play the
It's not like
remaster
it's
version.
outdated.
The
Yeah.
game still holds up incredibly well.
Mhm.
And it seems oddly like just not necessary to have a remaster of a game that's not
Yeah.
even 10 years old.
yeah, no.
For sure.
I'm not a fan, but I'm not a fan of a lot of remakes of anything
Yeah.
anyway. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, just give me
See,
something
now,
new.
I eat up the remakes of games that are 20 years old, 30 years old, games that I
Well, yeah,
played in
that-
my childhood. And a
Yeah, sure.
remake completely overhauls the graphics. It completely changes
Yeah.
the way it looks and feels.
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah, but something this new.
Exactly. It's just going to be
Yeah.
a more polished version of something that already looks good.
Yeah, and as you said, it still holds up. It's 2013. Like, it
Yeah.
still holds up. You can actually still, like, the reason I think that it's unnecessary is because obviously you can play it on the newest console. It's not like it's not playable. You
Right.
can play it on the newest console. It's been remastered for PlayStation 4. They're
Mhm.
also still selling PlayStation 3s, and you can still get PlayStation 3, and you can still get the original PlayStation 3 version of The Last of Us, or
Oh, yeah.
you can buy a PlayStation 4 and get the PlayStation 4 like remastered version. So it just seems like it's not like this game is unattainable on any other platform. That's why they have to remake it, because like it's going to be obsolete soon.
Mhm.
It's just not the case. Like, it
And
just
even
seems
in
like a
that
waste of time and
regard,
resources. but I
Sony
don't
doesn't
know.
do that. They don't care about a game becoming obsolete. They don't go out of their way to make it so that old games are still playable.
Is this a money grab? Is this like a money grab
That's what it seems like to
attempt
me.
to be like, hey, let's just like The Last of Us 2 got a lot of controversy, so let's like revamp The Last of Us 1 because everyone was like, oh, it's not as good as the first game.
I look at it more like they said, hey, The Last of Us 1 made us a shitload of money. Hey, The Last of Us 2 made us an even more shitload of money. Let's double down on that.
No, Sony, make
No.
fucking Uncharted 5.
Yeah, just
You like money,
Anyways.
make Uncharted 5.
yeah. I want something new. I don't
just
need
make something
a
new.
rehash of what I've already got.
Although I heard that like Naughty Dog are working on a completely different game. It's not Uncharted, it's not The
Yes.
Last of Us, but it is going to be another series that will be standalone. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's what I want.
Mhm.
Yes, please.
I'm all for new
Hurry up.
IPs. New IPs are good.
That'd be amazing.
So,
Hurry up, but take your time.
not to be super negative on this, it just seems unnecessary. So I just figured, like,
No, I feel you.
throw it out to
Yeah,
everybody here to hear about this news. It's kind of like the Last of Us TV show where it was announced and they're like, we're going to tell side stories. And then everything now is we're recreating the story word for word. It's like,
Yeah.
what happened there?
Yeah, I think there was some sort of discussion there and then casting. Look, it is what it is. We'll see what happens.
Anyways,
We'll see what happens. I have faith. Neil Druckmann's behind the wheel, I guess. So
yeah. I mean, I am excited for that show because it's
Yeah.
Pedro.
hey, Joe. because of
I think
Pedro.
it's really exciting to see what he does for the role. I don't particularly think he was right casting for the character. In my humble opinion, I actually think Hugh Jackman would have been fucking unreal, but that's fine. Like him in Prisoners, right? Him in Prisoners is Joel.
I'm already thinking of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in Logan.
Oh, and Logan as well. Oh yeah, everybody was comparing
Just
Logan
remove
to
the
Last of
claws
Us,
and you
actually.
got Joel.
And you've got, yeah, for sure. Anyway, that was just my personal opinion, and I think, like, casting's always going to be divisive somewhere, but Pedro is really good, and he's great at what he does. So I'm excited to see what he does with the role.
You never know. A lot of times people can take on a role that you wouldn't imagine them being able to do, and then they surprise you, and you're like, "Holy shit!"
100% fucking Batman.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. I was like, this is shit. I pack it in. Everybody go home. Nobody watch this movie. It's gonna be terrible. And then like BVS came out, and I was like, holy fucking shit! This was all right. This was.
I don't think Charlotte agrees with you.
Oh well, I actually thought I thought.
Now, when you said Batman, when you said Batman, I initially thought you meant Michael Keaton. That's why I said yes.
Okay, Michael Keaton is the best Batman. There's
but
no
one thought he was going to be good at it, though. That's the point.
That's so sad.
No one
Why
thought
not? He's
Michael
so
Keaton
good.
was going to be good. Exactly, and then he became
because we remember him from before Batman.
True.
Exactly. That was my point. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Well, I feel like maybe I just didn't know much about Michael Keaton beforehand. Like, when did Batman come out?
86.
Oh,
89.
89. Okay.
Come on, guys. I wasn't even a glint in my father's eye.
Junior high.
I didn't know. I just watched it when it came out. I meant Ben Affleck, and I'm kind of the same right now with Robert Pattinson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, nope. Everybody go home. Don't watch this movie. It's gonna be terrible. But then Matt Reeves was announced as director, and I was like, all right.
I mean, is he gonna sparkle? He's
not gonna sparkle, and he's apparently very good in Devil All the Time, which I have not yet watched, but I will have a look. I will have faith. I have faith.
Twilight ruined me. I'm sorry, I can't.
Same.
And Little Women ruined me for what's his name? Christian Bale, because he was in Little Women with Winona Ryder. He played Laurie
way back. Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not Batman.
And I actually think the remake was lovely. But anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Is it funny that for me, I knew Christian Bale best as American Psycho, and then when he got cast as Batman, I was like, perfect.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. No, he was this simpering character that just was. He threw himself into like some alcoholic depression because a woman told him no.
Yeah, it's not a good character.
No.
Anyways, moving right along, we're going to talk about the retro replay content this week, and there's some good stuff to talk about. I don't even know where to start. I guess we could always start with Trailer Talk, which was about a movie that didn't have Pagan in it.
I didn't get there.
Pagan didn't get
it
to
is
do
about
it.
Without Remorse coming to
Tom Clancy's
Prime.
Without Remorse, which I didn't know about this, but oh my god, I was right there with Drew on the nerding out about the whole Tom Clancy timeline and the writing, and I was like, yeah, and then like the amazing cut to like PJ and Nolan, like, and I'm like, no, I want to hear more about the conspiracy theories. Because I'm a big fan of Tom Clancy movies and games. So, like, I didn't know Without Remorse was, like, a prequel to Rainbow Six. And it was actually the groundwork for, like, the John Wick movies, essentially. Mm-hmm. That stuff was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know much about Tom Clancy stuff, honestly. The only time I really heard about this film was obviously because of Todd, who is in it from Get Good. And it's coming to Prime April 30th. So if anybody does a Prime Video, please go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a good movie, though. It looks kind of like I feel like I agree with PJ at one point where he's like, I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
Because I totally agree. It's like a plot point. It's a movie that you're just like, oh yes, I've seen this. Like someone almost dies, and they come back and they get revenge on everybody else because they killed their family, and you're like, ah.
Well, it's like to PJ's point, he was talking about how that book was written and published in 1993.
Oh wow!
And it was that book was what all those other movies were based on.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And he was talking about the development hell that this movie went through to get made, and that's why we've already seen this movie before.
Mm-hmm. I'm still excited to see this version, though.
Yeah, I'm not usually into action films, but I will say, because of Trailer Talk, I went and watched Nobody. and really freaking
that's
enjoyed
right.
it.
Yeah, you watched Nobody.
Oh, so good. I won't give spoilers.
I'm
You
so
please
glad.
talk
I
about it
haven't
though.
seen
Please
it
tell
yet.
me about that.
Oh my god. So never in my existence did I think that I needed a chase scene set to Heartbreaker.
Mm.
What? Yes, please. Also,
Okay.
all of this goes down because of a kitty cat bracelet.
Yeah.
A bracelet goes missing.
Oh.
So, like,
I think
lots
it's
of people
great.
die. it's fantastic. It's
Beautiful. Love it.
It was well cast.
Mm.
The soundtrack I will probably purchase. It's real good. The explosions are fantastic. Also, Doc Brown is a badass. And who knew that?
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Nice.
Oh, he looks so good in this film.
Well,
you can
only
only see him a glimpse in the trailer though.
You have
I
one
love
little
him,
scene
though.
of him watching TV in the trailer. That's it.
Oh.
He's got a much bigger part in this movie, and it's just grand. If you go for nothing else, go to see Christopher Lloyd.
I love him, man. But I think Bob Odenkirk really surprised me in the trailer, because I think even in the trailer talk when we spoke about that, he just seemed so unassuming.
See, now there's another actor doing something you wouldn't expect of them, and then being like, "Holy shit, they killed it."
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never seen the John Wick movies, and now I kind of want to, because that movie was really
highly
fantastic.
Recommend. Yeah, they're great.
Recommend.
And if this is anywhere in the vein of that, I'm gonna watch it.
I feel like from the trailer, it looks like it's in the same vein, just not as comedic. Like, there's definitely comedic moments in John Wick. There definitely is, but they're just not as well timed. I feel like there's not as good humor ish. So yeah, I actually think like I think I would probably enjoy Nobody on a different level than I would John Wick. But John Wick movies, so good. Please go watch them. Really, really good.
Noted.
It's just some of like the best, most well shot action scenes in a movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So good.
Yeah.
Great.
Also, the bus scene that you see in that trailer goes on for about almost 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
It's rough.
I'm in it. I'm fine. This is fine.
This is fine. Well, we got a double trailer talk out of that one.
We did.
We didn't really talk about Nobody when they did trailer talk for that, did we?
We did a little bit.
I skimmed on the surface. I think I was like, yeah, I didn't catch that one. Oops. But yeah, this one had Mr. Todd Lassant. So the first trailer talk that featured one of the actors in the movie.
So cool. I think that was a nice touch.
That was great. My favorite thing about that is knowing that Todd plays such a serious character in the movie, and then you get him on like, yeah, bro, it was such a great time being on set with Michael B. Like, he's just such like that laid back, like the Aussie surfer dude.
He's just so nice.
It's so
funny. I'm
people.
amped to see him like destroy people.
Me too. I'm really interested to see him in this, because I mean, he was great as like, honestly, I hated Caesar, but in a good way, if you know what I mean. Like, you're supposed to.
Right.
So like, he played the villain and he was really good at it. And I used to be like, oh, who the fuck? Like, oh, like,
fuck this guy.
Anytime he come on screen, I'm like, oh, like, stop, just stop. Which is good, because that's what you want the character to make you feel. But yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting to see Todd in a very serious role as Dallas.
Yeah, and Dallas was
and he's such a nice.
Dallas is a character that's really big in like the Rainbow Six series. So.
Oh really?
Nice.
They talked about this possibly
potentially moving
getting
on.
Another Rainbow Six movie, and that's got me like,
that'd be so good.
You know what? I'm realizing between like that and Jack Ryan, like Amazon's got this whole Tom Clancy thing going on, and I'm like, okay, I need to get on to watching Jack Ryan. I need to watch Without Remorse, because I want them to keep making more Tom Clancy content. Like, keep it going.
Yeah, Amazon's going that direction, and you've got Disney Plus doing all the Marvel MCU stuff.
That's right.
All these new series that are coming out. Fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, so good.
It's great. Yeah. I love these. I love the way these streaming services are handling this time that we're in, and really pumping out the content.
My only issue is having multiple streaming services where it's like, man, I cut the cord from cable and television back in 2008, I think 2007, and I went to like, okay, I'm just gonna have Netflix, and that's it. And I had Netflix, and that was it for a decade. And now it's like, okay, now I have to have Netflix, I have to have Amazon, I have to have Hulu, I have to have Peacock, you know, too many
Yeah,
streaming
they start
services.
adding up then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disney Plus. You can't not have Disney Plus. Now there's HBO Max. Anyways. Moving on to the episode proper, we had the wonderful and amazing John DiMaggio return to the basement for yet another fantastic, hilarious episode. Where
That man is too much.
Oh my god,
I
Right?
love him. He's great.
He's so sweet.
I don't know what it is, but it's great to have it back to almost like the old formula, the old Retro Replay, and I haven't laughed that hard at an episode of Retro Replay in a while. So, yeah, what did you guys think?
The energy is definitely back up. I love that because that's the one thing I've missed. I don't really mind who is on the couch with Nolan. He needs somebody to kind of riff with.
Yes.
And Drew doesn't always want to do that, and I understand that. It's not what he's there for. So it's really nice for Nolan to have somebody to riff off of, have that energy with. So
yeah, I would agree with Charlotte. I think Nolan is in his prime when he has another performer to riff with, because I think like with Drew as well, he does so well. But like having someone, especially like John, who has big energy, who has character voices and like a history of being in the VO industry and has worked with Nolan, like I love that. I think that's really nice. There's good camaraderie. There's good jokes, and then when they go off on a character bit, they all join in. Like the two of them would join in on either way. It's like improv, and I just think that's so good, and it's such a good energy to have back on the show. Yeah, I love it. I think it was a really good episode. Samurai Jack, thought that was really cool. Samurai Jack is such a fascinating series.
I love Samurai Jack.
It's so good. Yeah.
And I was telling Brandy when we were watching that episode, and she was like, "What's with the Scotsman character?" And I was like, "Oh my god, the Scotsman! Let me tell you about the Scotsman." And I explained like the episode. I'm like, "That's one of the best episodes in the entire series." When the Samurai Jack finds this bridge, and it's really long.
Face off.
And they get stuck on it together, and they're trying to convince one of the other to go backwards, so they end up having this epic battle. And the Scotsman is one of the few people that can like meet Samurai Jack at his level.
So each episode is actually set in a different location. So all the artwork for every single location in every episode is different. Which is saying something after like 6 seasons. It's a fascinating show. The Scotsman is one of the only allies, or is the only ally to make repetitive appearances in Samurai Jack. Like he doesn't have any friends or anything except the Scotsman, who was obviously originally brought on to be the enemy. But I am pretty sure he had like the longest insult.
The longest insult
on a TV show or something like that. So let me Google that.
But that is making me think back to the wonderful, amazingly hilarious bit that John and Nolan got into, where they were both just riffing the Scotsman accent off each other and just being like that absurd, over-the-top librarian insulting people while trying to tell them to behave themselves in a library.
It's a 20-second insult.
Wow.
20 seconds is the insult on the face-off. Yeah, there you go. I just think like this is so fascinating. And it's just really good writing, and like all the the panels and stuff like that as well. And the episodes were done like a comic book, and I just think it's great. I think it's just fantastic, and it was all like inspired by like The Longest Yard, which is like a 60s film, no 70s film, 1974. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed researching for this one. I liked having them play a game that one of them was in. That was cool.
Yeah. I've never watched the show, but the coloring in this game, I'm looking at it on my other screen. Yeah. It's just, what? The palette is just, it's nice.
The animation in this game really does capture the essence of the series as well.
It does.
Like it's obviously a little bit like 3D, it's actually animated for a game, but it does actually capture the essence so well. In Samurai Jack. And Samurai Jack's characters, I think I've mentioned this to you before, Dan. In the TV show, in the series, none of the characters have outlines.
Right. They
Like,
mentioned that
they
on
actually
on the
have-
episode yesterday.
Yeah, they have no outlines. They're
Yeah.
just color blocked in.
And
So
that's
they have outlines in the middle of them, but no actual outline on the outside. And I thought that was so fucking fascinating.
that's actually
man.
an animation trait of
So cool.
Gendy Tarkata. I'm gonna butcher his name. He's got a
I
really
don't know how to say
elaborate name.
Tartakovsky?
Yeah, he has
There you
also done other cartoons that are similar, where the characters don't have a lot of hard borders, or some do, some don't. Like if you've ever seen Foster's
Dexter's
Home,
Laboratory.
Dexter's Laboratory.
I love Dexter's Lab.
He did Foster's Home for
Oh,
Imaginary
I
Friends.
didn't know about that one.
There's also characters in that they do the same thing, where they're just color blocks with no
Yeah.
borders, no
You should
outlines.
look that one up, Pagan, because Foster's is.
Foster's
funny.
is great.
I'll have to look that up.
I love
yeah.
Foster's.
I just feel like Samurai Jack is probably it came into being during a weird time where I was really too old to check out cartoons, and my kids were too young for this
Yeah.
particular cartoon. So it's like,
Oh, I
didn't
see.
it.
Yeah, and Samurai Jack's kind of like, it kind of threads the needle of old and young as far as the content
Sure.
and the material there. That's why it's a great adult cartoon, but keeping it kind of PG for a younger audience. And then the show came back eventually to Adult Swim with a more
That's
mature
right.
tone, which I thought was the best move that show
That was
could
the
have
end
made.
of the season 6. It takes place 50 years after
Mhm.
the original series ended, which is so fucking
Yeah.
cool, man. This was a really good series to research, because I'd watched the show but I didn't know much about it.
Mhm.
And so after doing the research and stuff, I really enjoyed this. I want to go back and watch them.
Back to the show itself, retro replay on that episode, I thought one of the simplest, smallest moments, but one of my favorite moments in the episode was probably when Nolan started playing the game and he went, "Wait a minute, I don't want to play this. You play this." And he handed the controller off to John. And I bet that was a huge relief for Nolan, because he's had to be on the stick for
Yeah, he
almost
has to
over
be
a
able to do
year
that.
now,
Mhm.
He's been carrying it by himself.
which I feel like that plays to his strengths. And of course, we got John playing the game, and it kind of gave us John's version of Stroke Face. If you noticed,
I didn't notice.
he was more like it was different from Nolan's, but it was good. Go back and watch.
Yeah,
You'll
his
see
is
what I'm
very
talking about.
determined, and Nolan's kind of
Yeah, yeah. Nolan's got the
Nolan becomes kind of a mouth breather.
yeah.
That's so good.
That was great.
That was a good moment. Yeah, good pick. Good pick, actually.
Yeah.
That was a great moment.
Speaking of
I'm
picks,
really great to see. Oh,
no, go.
I was gonna say, I was like, it's really great to see the replayers as well get to interact with John and Nolan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
on Retro Feud.
Yeah.
On Retro
was-
Feud.
That was a good game.
Yeah,
It's a
featuring.
good game, and I think it's. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna mention Maria and Emmanuel.
Yeah, Maria and Emmanuel
Yeah.
was so good, and they were such good sports as well, because they didn't know that John was going to be in the show.
That must have been awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Emmanuel's first reaction was like, "Oh my god, hi Bender."
Bender.
You can
see
ask
that.
him. Yeah, you can ask him.
Poor
Um,
Emmanuel's camera. Like, I
Yeah.
wonder
No, I
what
don't know what
happened
Kind
there.
of glitchy.
I mentioned it to Steph, but it must have been whatever happened with the recordings, because we were recording locally, and so they were recording on their end, and we were also recording kind of locally through a system. So it must have been something with that. Like, it must have just corrupted the file a bit. So that was really unfortunate, but maybe we can have him back at some stage.
Yeah, that was a good
Rematch.
pairing to have on.
It was a good pairing to have on. Yeah, it was good vibes all around, and it was really cool to see Nolan and John. And I'm kind of liking the team versus, like, John's team versus Nolan's team. I really enjoy that.
John's reaction to the losing was beautiful, and like the ah!
He's not a happy loser.
That was great.
Yeah, it's good. It was a good one.
Well, we did get a little bit of an Uncle Noli section this week, so Uncle Noli made a little pop in. But honestly, with how great the mechanic is with John on the couch, I'm just like, who? Huh? Yeah, Uncle Noli.
It was good. Like, I mean, it's always great to see a little bit of Uncle Noli and get
Yeah.
a little bit of advice.
I do like the segment breakups. Those are good.
Yeah. I actually
Yeah.
think I prefer it as a segment now than I did as a show.
Yeah, it works
Um,
that way.
I think it's really nice. It's refreshing to like have a segment, either the Between the Adventures or the Uncle Noli, and we don't know what we're getting each week, and that's kind of fun. I like that.
Yeah. Other Between the Adventures are a riot.
Right?
It's the last one with
So
him
good.
packing.
Mhm. Because Nolan's packing. Like, why don't we have Nathan Drake pack stuff?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Use what you have.
Right. Well, then we're gonna wrap up the show here, folks. Before we close it out, we're just gonna do a quick little shout out for some of the websites thingies that you can see on the RetroReplayShow.com website, where replayers like yourself write articles and put them out there in the world to read. And there's some good stuff up there. So this
there is.
week, I'm gonna shout out article called "The Future of the MCU" by the one and only Lily Kay.
Nice.
Where she kind of delves into, what we know about the MCU and theorizing of where that's going to lead. Also, you can find an article called "Get the F Out of Wrestling" by Josh Neff.
Such a good article.
The wrestling one?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
Amazing.
I used to really be into wrestling. Like, I used to love it. So some of the things that he mentions in that article, I remember seeing on pay-per-view when it happened. I'm just like, yep.
This is great, Charlotte. I'm glad that you can be here to talk about the article that you read on the website. Because I read through that article myself, but I'm not a big wrestling fan. And I had left a comment like, well, I know WrestleMania from the Nintendo. That was fun.
Yeah. No, the one of the fights that he references in there between Mick Foley and The Undertaker. I mean, people, when we were watching that, we were like, that man is dead. Because he threw him off the top of the cage and he lands on the commentator's table and goes through it. Gets put on a stretcher, they start taking him out of the arena. He gets up off the stretcher, goes back and climbs back up onto the cage to get thrown through the cage down onto the mat. It was just,
the stunt work is phenomenal.
well, I mean, exactly, the injuries are real. Like, Mick Foley wrote an autobiography like a year after that fight, and on the back of it, he details all of his injuries, and like the whole thing's just covered.
Yeah, man. Like, the injuries are for real, like you said. Jesus Christ, they put themselves through some fucking shit.
Yeah,
But,
it's choreographed, it's planned. They have kind of a script.
It's like the drama isn't real, but the fighting, the wrestling, that is, because
they are hitting each other.
like they are doing those stunts. Like, they're doing the stunts live, and they have to make it look convincing, and you will definitely get injured. Like, you're just gonna.
I mean, it's just
entertaining
live
as hell,
stunt work, essentially.
You gotta say, it's live stunt work. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I can appreciate that article.
So if you're a
all the
wrestling
articles
fan,
so far, good.
Yeah, if you're a wrestling fan, go check that out. If you're curious about Lily Kay's perception on the MCU, go check that out. And we'll be trying to do this at least every week, I think, to try to, like, for anyone else who's not looking at the website yet, you should.
Absolutely should.
Quality
if you want to write
content.
for the website, please send anything over to members@retroreplayShow.com. We'll put you in touch with the right people.
That is definitely the way to do it. So closing out the show, Charlotte, do you have anywhere that people can find you or anything else you want to share?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Snapefantasy, anywhere really, Snapefantasy. I stream on Twitch at Snapefantasy.
All right. And then Pagan already mentioned that if you have any questions, you can reach out to her at members@retroreplayShow.com. If you have any questions for us here at the podcast, or if you want to come on the podcast and have a chat with us, you can reach us at thereplayerpodcast@gmail.com. And where can they find you, Pagan?
At Pagan Plays on Twitter and at Pagan_plays on Instagram and Twitch.
Woo! And lastly, I am Stark Evil Vash on everything, and then I'm Stark E Vash on Twitter, STARKY Hawaii VASH. If we were more of like a YouTube show, I would love to cut in like the mask every single time I do that or something.
Fucking do it, man. Why not? Who's stopping you? You take
Run
that
with it.
liberty, buddy. Yeah, fucking go with it.
And lastly, just want to say thank you to Retro Replay, because we haven't done that in a while.
Ugh.
We used to say thank you to Retro Replay all the time. And
I don't thank them.
I mean, you don't have to, Pagan. I do.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks, Retro Replay.
And
For
game
everything
over.
that you do, because what
ahead,
was
go
the
ahead, do
usual
it.
thing that we used to do?
Oh,
Thank you to everybody in Retro Replay cast and crew, because without you, this podcast wouldn't be possible.
Something along those lines.
Something along those lines. You get it. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you, because without you, we wouldn't be here. Game over.